Hi, it's Mild Red to Michelle Birdsong, the Queen of Information, daughter of the sun, Eve, mother of all living. I am speaking to you on part 4 of the video. Eve Mild Red says, "Penis, come, cleans us." Okay, I left off here, decoding weather. W-E for we, E-A for E-A-C-H, each, A-T for at, T-H-E-R for therapy. We each at therapy. Love, Eve. So talk and share, letting folks know you care. Ward off your own feelings of despair. Because your adult children don't care to share and clear the air and lift spirits of all who dare to seek and see the truth once it's here, so near. Do not fear, and your mind will clear, and guilt will be gone, and love will sing a song. I love you, Porgy. Don't let him take me. Don't let him handle me and drive me mad. If you will stay here with me forever. That's a George Gershwin music, now being a sing bird song, and Ira Gershwin is a lyricist, now being as T. Michelle Birdsong. Their songs naturally touch my heart, for they are mine and my son's sing bird songs, grandson of the sun. Okay, let's go to part 2. Page 2. This is actually part 4. She realizes, Real Ozzy, that's a Hawaiian singer, obese singer who sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow. He's deceased. What do you call it when people are dead? Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. My mother said once out of the blue, a little bird told me. When Mama, Miss Frog, was in the hospital, I brought my new baby, her new granddaughter, for her to see and maybe get a new lease on life. She looked at the baby, Melanie Lynn, and said, "Ooh, look at that little bird mouth." When Melanie grew up, she said she wanted to know my mother. I have now learned that Melanie Lynn's first child, Jandara Michelle Ranziger, was being as my mother, Miss Frog, and my daughter, Melanie Lynn, had being as my grandmother, Mama Mill. I digress. D for daughter, I for I, G for God, R for her, Eve, E for Eve, S for Secret Santa. Daughter I, God, her Eve energy, yes, Y-E-S, yes, Secret Santa. Okay. I believe I have recreated the one room my mother and grandmother left me alone in when I was 4 or 5. Every day I go to sleep shortly before Eddie comes to do my shopping, knowing he'll probably awaken me to get the grocery list and money for the groceries. The same as when, after playing with the sun who came in through the window, Dow Jones, win, Dow Jones. Great. So the sun came into the window when I was 4, alone in the house. Silently. A, silent. L-Y, lie. Eddie waking me up is like my mother and grandmother returning to my grandmother's tiny house. Because that incident of being left alone when I was a child still stays with me as an unfinished cycle, like Groundhog Day. It's what my projection, Albert Einstein, said. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Did you follow me? So I go to sleep shortly before Eddie comes. In this tiny room, I got myself in this tiny room, just like the room my mother left me in. And I go to sleep and wake up to Eddie. Whereas in the original tiny room, I'd go to sleep and wake up to my mother returning, and I was no longer alone. You see? Oh, okay. Charan Singh, being as Jesus Christ, currently being as Gurinder Singh said, the mind can project some thousands of ways. The mind, M-I for my, I-N-D is the 8th Avenue subway train, my train of thought. Charan Singh also said, of this SRO hotel I'm living in, a first-class prison. My son is a private person, prison, P-R-I for private, S-O-N for son, private son, and that's what my son is, a private person. Sing bird song, Charan Singh. Charan Singh being as Jesus Christ, currently being as Gurinder Singh Dhillon explained in the 10 days he trained me in India that men don't like to talk about their feelings. Okay? I didn't tell him my son was a private person. He just kept telling me things that fit my situation, that as if he was reading my past. I think it is plain that because Charan Singh, being as Jesus Christ, currently being as Gurinder Singh Dhillon, was able to give me answers to situations I would face, that was in 1979, I would face 41 years in the future, in only 10 days' time, is supernatural. Only God could have done that. No ordinary person could have done what he did. And why did God, Jesus Christ, do that? Because I was his wife, Mary Magdalene, who didn't know how to love him. See musical movie Jesus Christ Superstar, when Ted Neely, Gurinder Singh, starred in, and Charan Singh, being as Jesus Christ, said, I wasn't born to be a rock star. Okay, let me finish the thought about the musical. Yvonne Ellerman, I think that was her name, she sang, I don't know how to love him, talking about Jesus Christ. Okay. So, Charan Singh, being of Jesus Christ, said, I wasn't born to be a rock star. He, I now know, was born to be a legend. L for will, E for events, Eve events, G for God, E-N-D for end, E-R for Eve, her. Will, Eve events, God end, Eve, her. Will God end Eve, her events? Let's see. Gurinder Singh Dhillon, who had been a rock star, a singing star, many lifetimes, was born to be a rock star again, for eternity. And I was born to be his therapist's wife, Mild Red. Eve, like Jesus Christ, was a martyr. M-Y for my, A-R, T for art, T-Y, E for tie, E for her. My art, tie, her. My art, I die. I saw Charan Singh sitting in a pew on a bench in the venue where Gurinder Singh was teaching. That Charan Singh had been cremated, had died about 13 years earlier, meant he resurrected from the dead. And he looked normal. I watched him. He looked normal. Teaching decoded. T-O for two, E-A-C-H for each, to each. Hing, H-I-N-G, is an Indian spice. To each, pleasure, and God, garden of eating. Speaking of spice. I guess you're realizing that I'm picking out patterns here. Charan Singh and Gurinder Singh and their disciples and the Indian spice of life, Guru Nanak and Tulsi Sahib, being as Michelle Birdsong, Eve, were all lacto-vegetarians and still are. Lacto-vegetarian decoded. L for will, L for love, ACT for act, T, O for ordered. Will, love, act, ordered. V for variety. E for eating, G-E-T for get. A-R-I-A for aria. S, N for in, and S for sooner. Variety eating. Get, aria, Gurinder's baby that I'm carrying, in physical sooner. Oh, if I get variety eating, that's true, we gotta eat the same thing. She doesn't want to be born until her mother, or else I don't want her to be born until I get a more varied diet. When I was married to Edwin Birdsong, living in Hollis, Queens in the 1970s, he spent a great deal of time in Philadelphia where he was hot as a record artist. Although, as far as I knew, he wasn't making any money. One day, Evelyn Jones, an RN and friend of mine, and her neighbor friend, Yvonne Blakeney, showed up at our sparsely furnished house at 109 205th Place in Hollis. In their arms, they had bags of groceries for my children, singing Robin and myself. Now, Evelyn Jones is Aria. This friend is Aria. Isn't that something? Yeah, it's no accident the people who are in our lives. Okay, Evelyn decoded. Eve Lynn had drove me to the hospital at 3 o'clock a.m. because I was having labor pains. Okay, let's see, do I have to decode this? Marilyn, Evelyn, like Marilyn Monroe. One of my projections. M-A for Ma, R for I for R, I for I, Ma, her, I, Marilyn Monroe. Roe versus Wade. Marilyn Monroe being as my projection. Okay, so over here, Evelyn Jones waited with me. She drove me to the hospital, got out of bed, drove me to the hospital at 3 o'clock in the morning. She waited with me at Queens General Hospital, Charity Hospital in Queens, while I was in labor. At one point, she looked at me down there. She saw the baby. I dropped the phone, sorry. She saw the baby, Robert Michelle Birdsong's head at Mama said, look at that birdie's mouth. Remember that? That keeps popping up. So Robin Birdsong's head at the mouth of the birth canal. And yelled, and Evelyn yelled to the medical professionals who hadn't paid any attention to me after they put me on a stretcher decoded. A-S for as, S-T for saint, R for her, E-T for E-T, E for energy, H-E-R for her. As saint, her, Venus, goddess of love, E-T, which is extraterrestrial, energy, her. Okay, she's got the energy of an extraterrestrial. That's T. Michelle Birdsong, not Evelyn. Evelyn yelled at the doctors and nurses. Okay, remember she looked at the birth canal. In another room. Somebody better get in here and catch this baby unless you want her to come out and fall on the floor. So the doctor and nurse showed up quick enough and delivered the baby perfectly fine. The doctor had long hair like a hippie, but his work was traditional. Okay, now a hippie. A-H for awe, H for heavens, I for pleasure, P for present, A, cutie, P-I-E for pie. Ah, heaven's pleasure, present a cutie pie baby. And the jocks at the biggest black radio station in New York, who's taken a liking to our album What It Is, played a song, Rockin' Robin, to announce Robin's birth. What they would have said if they'd known my baby girl was Stevie Wonder's only biological child, I can only wonder. She may as well have been born in a manger. Were it not for Evelyn, she might have been born in White Castle, the place I phoned Fountain Jr., Evelyn's son, who phoned his mother to get out of bed and come take me to his friend who had turned him into, who had come to take me, Fountain's friend, who had taken him into a life-changing, a life-settling path, turned him on to that path of the master, science of the soul, Saint-Mart. The nurse gave me a dirty look as I handed her the dingy-looking clothes for her to dress the baby.